Emil was born on 10th of July 1996 and he was Tony's first son. Tony was like a peacock, he was so proud. He was just so happy-go-lucky and he just loved going out into the garden and messing about with all the insects, and he used to like jumping in the puddles with his wellies and playing hide and seek. He loved life. One of the last things that I did before I went on maternity leave was doing this big meningitis awareness campaign, and I was giving all the cards out to parents what signs to look out for using the glass. So I was pretty savvy, but Emil, he just suddenly didn't want to cuddle, he didn't want his milk, he was boiling hot but his hands and feet were freezing. So the emergency doctor came, he said it's not his meninges, nothing. And he was absolutely adamant that we were just over anxious and it wasn't anything. He just got worse and worse during the evening, so eventually we took him down and he was losing consciousness in the back of the cab, and Dr. Shimmy said I'm going to have to see if he has got meningitis. So of course, to put the needle in his back and everything, it did come back that he had got meningitis, and then he was on all these tubes and medication and drugs, and we took it in turns to sleep over on a night time with him, and then all of a sudden he sat up and he just said, "Tubby toast," and I knew we'd broken the corner. He was 22 months and 3 days old.
I was in bed, it was my day off. He said he'd been grizzly. So, well, get him into bed with me. And it seemed to be all right for a while. And I thought, it's getting warmer. So I took him out of his bed, put him in the cots, and I could hear him singing for a little while. I thought, oh, that's fine. You know, I was just sort of tossing and turning a little bit. And I thought, that's strange. I can't hear him singing anymore.
With the pneumococcus, which is the strain Emil had, it stays embedded in the brain and spine.
Tried so hard. You know, and I was hoping against hope that, you know, they could see some flicker of life and bring him round. You know, but to no avail.
It could have been 5, it could have been 15, it could have been 50. It was like a time bomb waiting to go off. In the mortuary, after Emil had passed away, it was a different world altogether. Tony and I came home that day and he'd passed away with just his coat, and it was like, right, you can come back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. And it was like that essence, that bundle of energy that you've had in your life all that time. And it was like, well, he's ours now. So here's your coat, go home and come back at 2. And what do you do with that? Where do you go with that? And so we went back the following day at 2, knocked on the door downstairs in this dark corridor, and this man answered the door, and he'd got this apron on and with all entrails on it, and he said, I'm still a bit busy. He says, so you'll have to come back later. And he was like, okay. So what do you do with that? We couldn't go back then again until the following day, and then we went back the following day and I'd got his pyjamas. And because when we went to see him, when he'd got the pyjamas, he'd got this shroud on, and they'd bouffanted his hair up with this lacquer. Well, he had really blonde, floppy hair, and he'd like got it up in a bouffant. And I said, well, that's not him. I said, and I brought his pyjamas, and he'd got this big lump on his head. And I said, how's he got that lump on his head? And he said, oh, that happens sometimes, you know, we're putting them back in the drawers. I mean, you would not believe the things he said. I mean, I've never broken the Lord in my life. I thought, but I'm going to have to come back here and I'm going to have to steal our son out of here and take him. And Martin House came that day in an air-conditioned van. I took some clothes. We dressed Emil in his dungarees and a shirt and shoes and everything. And I carried him in my arms all the way to Martin House. The whole concept of the family and the continuation of the bonds, that's what they encouraged at Martin House.
Every emotion you could possibly take, I had to take on board that day. I think people, when they suffer tremendous grief and loss, I think that's how they feel.
These words kept coming round and round and round, so I had to get a piece of paper and write them down. And I realise now that the words are Emil's words, whether you believe that or not. He's like saying, I'm okay, Mum, don't worry.
Those words somehow give you strength. They give you the strength to carry on. And then also you can read them back to yourself. So you're getting stronger all the time to cope with things.
Emil's spirit must have said, I've got to pass my torch on to somebody else. And it's going to be my sister.
I know he's kind, caring, No, he's always looking down on us. He knows like what I'm doing, because he always watches over me. So if I'm poorly, he looks over me. If I'm worried about something, it helps me over it.
If you believe that someone's still here, you can't grieve for him gone, can you? Because he hasn't. And also, he did the bravest thing ever. He gave his life up so that a man could live.
Do you know why I don't cry a lot as much now? Because when my son passed away, tried again. Sorry about that. Because when my son passed away, I cried it all out for him, for my son. That's why I don't cry so much now, because I was so crying out for him. I cried so many buckets. I can't cry anymore. It's just impossible. I have no more tears left.
It's been 20 years, but we've kept his memory alive. We've got a lovely stone from up at Lawnswood. We had a windmill. When we used to go up to his grave, the windmill used to go around. Even though there was no wind, he used to go around and we knew his energy. The essence of him was there.
I think he changed me to become a better understanding person for people. The first thing is to become a better person yourself.
To me, Emil's legacy would be always live for the moment, living for the spangled moment, for now, for the here and now. And to always, do you know what I mean, know that tomorrow's another day and never give up. Because I don't think he ever gave up with his last breath. I don't think he ever gave up. And he was singing. And, do you know what I mean, whatever life throws at me, I'm going to sing. The time had come, God called me home, but I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay with Postman Pat and with Rupert, Bear and Poe. I wanted to kiss my mummy's face and stroke my daddy's hair. I wanted to jump on my brother's bed, but there wasn't the time to spare. Love knew no limits for me down on earth, for my family, my friends and my toys. There were earwigs and flowers and dancing and fun. There was music and laughter and noise. My time there among you was cut very short, but a lifetime of giggles you gave. And it moves me to see all my family and friends sat there crying and trying to be brave. Yet I never knew violence or hatred or pain, and my world was filled only with love. So don't grieve for me now I am gone from your world. I am here in God's playground above. You all hear my voice in the breeze through the trees, so remember me only with joy. For though lent to you only, I live in your hearts as your special, unique little boy.